All right, today we are diving into something truly massive. We're going to explore a single, really ambitious theory that tries to solve not one, but two of the absolute biggest mysteries humanity has ever faced all at the same time.
You know, for as long as we've been human, we've been wrestling with these two gigantic questions. They're like these two great cosmic riddles that sit right at the very edge of what we can comprehend.
Okay, so the first one, that's the mystery of our own minds. Philosophers have a fancy name for it, the hard problem, but what it really boils down to is this. How in the world does this 3-pound lump of wetware in our skulls, with all its electrical fizzing and chemical soup, how does all that create the experience of seeing the color red, or feeling happy, or hearing a piece of music? Why does it feel like anything at all to be alive?
And then there's the second mystery, the one about the outer world. And this one is just as strange. See, when we zoom way down to the quantum level, the solid, dependable reality we all know just kind of melts away. It becomes this fuzzy cloud of maybes, of pure potential. They call this the measurement problem. And it's this bizarre idea that things aren't really there in a definite way until we actually look at them.
So what if these aren't separate mysteries at all? What if the strangeness in here, in our heads, and the strangeness out there at the heart of matter are actually two sides of the very same coin? That's the wild and radical proposal we're going to unpack today.
To even begin to build this theory, we have to start somewhere kind of unexpected. We're going to have to rewind the clock way back to the 17th century to get a key piece of the puzzle from a philosopher named Baruch Spinoza.
So Spinoza's big idea was something called substance monism. Now, it sounds complicated, but the core of it is actually pretty simple. He said, look, everything you see, the stars in the sky, the chair you're sitting on, even your own thoughts, it's not all made of different kinds of stuff. It's all just different shapes and forms of one single fundamental substance. He called this one substance God or nature.
Now, this was a huge deal back then. The common wisdom from guys like Descartes was that you had mind stuff and you had matter stuff, two totally separate things. But Spinoza came along and said, nope, they're not two different things, they're just two different ways of looking at the exact same thing. Kind of like seeing one mountain from two different sides. It's the same mountain, just a different point of view.
And don't think this is just some dusty, forgotten idea from an old philosophy book. No way. Fast forward a few hundred years, and who turns out to be a huge fan? Albert Einstein. He was totally on board with Spinoza's vision of a universe that's one single, unified, orderly whole. It's just a really powerful framework.
Okay, so we've got our philosophical foundation. Now, for building block number 2, we're going to leap forward in time, from old-school philosophy right into the weird, wild world of 20th century physics.
The key idea we need to grab onto here is called superposition. It basically means that in the quantum world, things are, well, they're indecisive. A particle, like an electron, isn't in one specific spot before you look at it. It's kind of everywhere it could be, all at the same time. It's just a shimmering cloud of pure possibility. And this is where things get really famous, with Schrödinger's cat. It's a thought experiment, of course, but it perfectly shows how bonkers this idea is. If you link a cat's fate to a random quantum event inside a box, the math says that until you open that box and look, the cat isn't alive or dead. It's in a superposition of being both alive and dead simultaneously. It just perfectly highlights this massive clash between the weird quantum rules and our everyday world.
So how do you solve a problem like a half-dead cat? Well, physicists have two main and completely wild solutions. The first one, the Copenhagen interpretation, says that the very act of looking, of observing, somehow forces the universe to just randomly pick one outcome. The other idea, the many worlds interpretation, says it never picks. Instead, reality itself just splits. There's a universe where the cat lives and another one where it doesn't. Yep, both of them are pretty mind-bending.
But notice what's at the center of both of those ideas: observation. The act of looking seems to do something. And that leads us to our third and final building block, and this one's a doozy. What if this 3D world we see all around us isn't the real deal? What if it's just the surface layer of something much deeper? This idea comes from a physicist named David Bohm. He imagined that reality has two layers. First, there's the explicate order. That's the unfolded world we live in, with all its separate objects and events. But underneath that, there's the implicate order, a deeper reality where everything is enfolded together, completely interconnected, as part of an unbroken whole.
And what's just incredible is that modern physics has an idea that sounds suspiciously similar. It's called the Holographic Principle, and it actually comes from studying black holes. It suggests that all the information needed to create our 3D reality could be encoded on a distant 2D surface, like a cosmic hologram. Yeah, you heard that right. Our entire reality might just be a projection.
Okay. Let's take a breath. We've got our 3 building blocks: Spinoza's one reality, the quantum measurement puzzle, and this idea of a deeper holographic universe. Now, it's time to put them all together. Let's build this thing, the Quantum-Informational Theory of Consciousness, or QIC for short.
So here's the absolute core idea of QIC. The most fundamental stuff in the universe isn't matter, it's not energy, it's meaningful quantum information. And that informational field, that's what Spinoza was talking about with this one substance. It's what Bohm meant by the implicate order. At the very bottom of it all, the universe is one vast, single informational whole.
Okay, so if that's your starting point, how does it actually help solve those big mysteries? Well, the theory has some really cool potential answers. That feeling of being one single unified you, that could be the result of large-scale quantum entanglement happening across your brain. And the hard problem, why we have experiences at all? Well, maybe the brain isn't creating consciousness. Maybe it's more like a receiver, an antenna, tuning into that deeper reality and translating its information into the subjective experience we call consciousness. And for any of that to work, the brain would need some kind of biological quantum error correction to keep the signal clear.
But this next part, this might be the most mind-blowing piece of the whole puzzle. It gives us a new way to think about free will, something called guided collapse. Here's how it works. Step 1. The quantum world serves up a menu of possibilities. Step 2. Instead of a random outcome, your conscious mind reaches into that deeper reality, that implicate order, and accesses meaningful information. Step 3. That information then guides the collapse towards a meaningful outcome. And the result? An action that isn't random, but isn't just a predetermined domino effect either. It's self-directed, an action determined by your whole nature, which is exactly what Spinoza was getting at 350 years ago. It's incredible.
So, let's zoom out. When you put all of these pieces together, what's the big picture? Honestly, it's pretty breathtaking. In this view, consciousness is no longer some strange little evolutionary fluke that just happened to pop up in some ape brains. No, it is woven into the very fabric of the cosmos. It is the mechanism through which the universe's potential becomes actual. It's the process by which reality itself wakes up. And I mean, just look at this. It's an absolutely mind-boggling convergence. You have these deep philosophical ideas from the 1670s, and now they might just have a physical home in the most cutting-edge physics of the 21st century.
So what does all this mean for you, right here, right now? It means that your own subjective awareness, it isn't just something happening inside your head. It is a focal point. It's a local arena where the entire universe is unfolding from pure potential into actual lived experience.
And that just leaves us with one last, absolutely massive thought to ponder. What if your consciousness, your private inner world, isn't just a small, isolated thing inside the universe? What if it is the universe, finally getting a chance to experience its own beauty, its own mystery, through your eyes?